more things. But today we're going to be talking, it's 4 o'clock, today we're going to be talking about the finds, the vintage finds. Last week we did the steampunk style pipe lamps. Today I thought it would be good to look at the vintage finds, things from yesteryear that had a real good purpose then, but because of technology and how we've moved on in our lives, have lost that original use. So the idea is to rescue them and give them a purpose for life, and that will be as a lamp.
Vintage Lamp Cam says, nice lamps, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
And you've had another, Malin Bertus has joined us.
Hello there, welcome to the show. Not sure where you are. It'd be nice if you just sent a message to say where in the world you are. That's always nice, because I don't know if I could say good morning, good evening, good night. Maybe you've got up in the middle of the night to watch me.
Hello, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, hello, good evening and welcome. Yes, David Frost for those of you. Hello, good evening and welcome.
No, don't do that.
No, I won't do that. Right, so we're going to talk about the vintage finds. Now, we'll start off, and we're doing them in this order because the dirtiest one in the process of the fact it's filthy dirty is last. That's the blow lamp. We'll start off with the vintage bell box. And over here in the UK they're known as GPO bell boxes, because GPO was the General Post Office, which way back was the organisation that dealt not only with the post but with telephones as well. So this is the final bell box. As you can see, this is how it ends up. This has really gone through a whole load of work to get to this stage, because originally it starts off like this.
Say hello to Arthur.
Hello, Arthur. Originally it starts off like this. Now, for those of you that don't know what an old bell box is, this is specifically a bell box number 20. I say that because it's the only one that really lends itself to being turned into a lamp. And these you had if you were on the wealthy side and you had a telephone installed and you wanted some way to connect to the local exchange, and also to maybe an extension in your study in the drawing room. We're talking about the 1930s here, because these are 1930s. This one specifically is 1932. They all come with a number on it, so you can actually trace back using the wonders of the internet to find out exactly when this particular bell box was made. So you would connect up to the local exchange or to your extension. There would be a hole in the side, probably around the other side here now, and there would be a cable coming out with your telephone receiver on, the old-fashioned handset, and you would wind the handle here, which would charge up the magneto inside, make a little electric current that would go through and cause the bell to ding either the exchange or at the extension. And this on the top here is where you used to change where you wanted to speak. Now, as you will have noticed, that on the end lamp.
Say hello to Amy.
Hello, Amy. How's it down in London? That has now become the lamp switch. So that's one thing that I always like to do, as well as keeping the essence of the lamp, is to incorporate a switch somewhere within it, so it's a part of the mechanism. So if we look inside this, then you can get a real good look at how things used to be. You showed kids this today, teenagers. It's not like the inside of a mobile phone, really, is it? This is the inside of an old bell box, and here is the wiring diagram. And all this is a vital part of the historical nature of this. It's a vital part of nostalgia. So I make sure that we don't lose that. It would be so easy to strip all this out and just put a switch at the top there, close it up, do that up so it can't be undone again, and there we have it. But I think it's so nice if you're able to refurbish or repurpose an item and still keep all that gubbins inside, which is exactly what, if I can just undo this here, we have done here. Now then, you can see the lamp's still on there, but I've kept all this intact, and I put the switch through in the middle of all this plethora of wires and all sorts here.
Handcrafted by Mario has joined.
Hello, handcrafted by Mario.
Tunstall 1972.
Oh, we've got a few on.
And Bronsk. That's
well,
Bronny.
Hello, Bronny. So welcome all of you. Tell us where you are in the world. It'd be nice to know where you're listening from, or viewing from, should we say. So there we are. So I keep all that inside. So to achieve that, you have to take it all to bits first of all. And a quick look here at what it looks like when it's all to bits. Everything's been taken off there. All of the brass work has been taken off. We can get that undone again. It should come out there.
Brute force enigmas.
There we go. There we go. So everything's been taken off there. So all that you saw with the switch is all in here. and then I have to ream that out and put the switch in there. So there's quite a bit of work involved, and a lot of the original of these are brass, but you can see by looking at the end result here that it was all covered in lacquer, because in those days they didn't use all the same timbers to make these. Here you can see there are probably 3 different types of timber used on this one bell box. All of these handmade dovetail joints at the side here. Just a beautiful piece of nostalgia, beautiful piece of craftsmanship from the day when we could really craft things. Not always were they all correctly with the materials, because here you think, right, you've got 2 brass bells there. The magnets thing I always use, that is brass, or it could be copper. That is plated steel. So you have to be careful when you're looking to buy these, whether you want them to be completely original or that may have been added later on.
We've got HD25, Mark Adolphs and Joe Sup E.
Joseph, and yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This is so nice to have so many people saying hello to us. We do hope you're all keeping well in these quite stressful times, and we're trying to get on and give you a bit of entertainment and show you a few things, and we look forward to seeing your posts as well. It's great that it's got this Instagram community. It really is good. So that's the bell box. So that's a quick of how we take it to bits, add all the switching in, put it back together again. You may be wondering how I get it to look so beautiful, this brass. Well, there's no magic to this. There's no magic powder. There's no magic liquid.
You've tried everything, haven't
I've tried everything. I've tried every known combination. And the best thing I've found, and I can give you an example of this, is actually steel wool. I've got 3 grades of steel wool here. And you may think, well, that's going to scratch. Well, it certainly does. But the thing is, the finest grade, the 40 grade of steel wool, is actually a polishing cloth, as you'll see in a moment. So we start off with the highest grade, and I'll just do a bit and I'll show it to the camera. So just a few rubs with that, and you can see already all the grime and all the waste coming off there. And then the middle one gives it a little bit more of a polish, but only when you use the last one do you get that lovely deep shine. And that's just because you're using a very fine steel wool. Now look at that. That's a mirror finish now on there. Can that be seen by the camera all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just elbow grease steel wool. And that's the best thing I've found for cleaning brass. It does involve taking everything to bits so you can get it every little last piece of that. But that's worth doing. So that's the bell box looked at. So, you know, once you start looking around for these finds on eBay and at boot fairs or flea markets, you certainly find there's more around than you think, because there are loads around in the 1930s. There's hidden away in somebody's loft, in someone's garage. Now, we get on to something I've just got onto recently, which are these old sprayers. These are the Dron Wall sprayers. Again, this has got a leaky bit round here. The welding's gone on there. There's obviously no pressure there. So you would probably throw this away. You might try welding it. But with the modern day plastic sprayers, people are tending to just ditch these now. If I see these, it's a real good find. And just recently I had a spate of finding these on eBay, and I bought 4 or 5 of them. And as you can see, this is what I've turned that one into. And they're all exactly the same, these actually. So it's nice that I can repeat it with the second one and the third one. Again, the switch incorporated within the whole of the system here, exactly as it was. I haven't taken anything away. And you can see that one feature I always try and include in my lamps, well, I always do include, not try, I always include, is taking the wiring actually into the body of the piece. It's so easy to just put a piece of a wire up the top here and maybe pop it under a lamp holder and put a switch, a torpedo switch on the cable here. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But I like to try and make a seamless conversion from vintage item into lamp. And that's what hopefully you'll see I've done here. Again, I've got one here that we've taken to bits just to show you what the inside was like. There's the main body, of course, there. We'll clean it up in exactly the same. Some of it's already a bit clean, but that will clean up in exactly the same way as we did with the brass on the bell box. And all these pieces, that was obviously the pump bit there. That will be taken off and that will be cleaned up and polished with Danish oil, and the switch will be incorporated beneath there in that little socket there, as we've got on here. So it becomes the switch. The problem occurs, of course, trying to get the wiring down this very narrow tube here up to the lamp itself here. And that's where you have to use a little bit of ingenuity in that you think, well, normally you would earth it on the bulb holder, but I've actually earthed it within the body of the lamp here. The good thing about these is that they're all metal, so that's good for earthing as long as you've got a solid earth.
Just to tell you, Leslie, Damo and Joe are all
Oh,
on.
hello Liz, hello Damras, hello Joe, hope you're all well. So yeah, so having made sure we can get the wiring down there, it may need reaming out with a very fine drill bit from either end, but again we're trying to keep the essence of the lamp in there, so you've got this lovely piece that becomes a stylish part of your furniture. This is by, just to show you the actual switch that we use, the rotary switch. When switches first came into existence, they were actually all continuous clockwise rotary, and that's what I use now.
Reenie Vintage Head Stock Lamp says hello.
Oh, hello. Hello, welcome. Are they telling us where they're from?
No.
We need some world geography here to know where you're actually watching us from. You're not all in the UK, I'm pretty sure about that.
No.
So all these bits get taken apart, they all get cleaned up, and they all get put back together. Sometimes it's easy to get them apart. We all know the wonders of WD-40 for loosening off nuts and bolts. They do an even better one, which is a penetrant, which is even better for getting them apart. You'd never just go at it with a spanner straight away without putting a little bit of loosening agent on first. So that's the Dronwall lamp, that's the pressure lamp. Again, this is now defunct, that's not used anymore, so I make sure that's solid there, it can't be pressed down because it'll probably break it, but that's just there because it was a part of the original lamp. And I think keeping the essence of these pieces, as I said before, is very important. So, we now move on to the last of these. Oh, we're doing fine for time. So any questions, just shout out.
Oh, handcrafted by Mario says greetings from Serbia.
Serbia! Wow, wonderful. How are things in Serbia? How's the weather out there, Mario? So, now we move on to one of the most sought after, well not sought after, most popular finds you find at boot fairs and flea markets. It's the old blowtorch. Now, if you look around for these, you'll find them languishing in someone's garage. I picked up 5 strung together with string for £7 pounds sterling, which is, I suppose, about, I don't know what it is around the world now. The sterling's not doing very well. Who knows? But £7 sterling, and incredibly, they are not easy to turn into lamps, but they're certainly a worthwhile effort put in. Because, first of all, what were they used for originally? Well, they were paraffin driven. These were paraffin blow torches, replaced today by the gas blow torches and the hot air blow torches we use today. So paraffin would be put into here, and you would prime it like this to prime it, and the paraffin, as you'll see in a moment, would squirt out through a little tiny jet, and you'd light the end. And then you could constantly pump it, and you could strip paint off wood, you could melt bitumen on roofs and that sort of thing. And for many, many years, these were used for that purpose. And these that I get, they could be dated to about 1940, 1950. So genuinely vintage items now. First thing, of course, to do, it gets completely sprayed with WD-40 because you're involving heat. Eventually, originally in here, you'll find a lot of these pieces are so solid and they need a good soaking to get them apart. And then when you get them apart, the first problem I have is, okay, I've now got to get my wiring into a good position within the lamp, so it's an integral part of the lamp.
You have Steam Italy handcrafted lamps. I assume they're in Italy.
I presume you're in Italy. Wonderful. So as you can see, just looking at this, this is the one that I forgot to show you this first of all. This is the finished article. Again, my cabling goes right inside the lamp. So easy to put it up the side here and through there. That'd be the cheaty way, as I call it. I choose the more difficult path, taking it into the body. Always a rubber grommet to stop any fraying of the cable against the metalwork, even though I make sure the metalwork's all smoothed off in there. And now getting the cable up to here. Well, that's the difficult bit, but it's the interesting bit, because here is the inside of the blowtorch cage. That's the heat cage there. And inside there, you've got the element here. So the paraffin would go up here, There was a piece there, I've cut it out, I'll show you why in a moment. The paraffin would go around here under pressure and come out a little tiny jet there. And this of course would heat up. So that would constantly keep the paraffin almost vaporized, which is what you want to create the flame. But I need to take the wire through here. So I cut a chunk out of that metalwork. That will all be shaved off so it's nice and smooth, and the wiring will come through there and then be wired up. The end gets cut off there. As you can see here, the bulb holder goes on and this fits back on when it's all cleaned up. And again, all this is brass, solid brass. The handle and the bracket that keeps the flame guard on is metal, that's some steel. So that will get covered with hammerite black paint there to make it nice. Sometimes I might put silver on, depending. Hammerite's a crucial part of my armoury here because you can paint directly onto rust. So you clear off all the loose rust, you can paint hammerite direct to rust. So it's brilliant. So that is the blowtorch. So you can see sometimes it's easy to convert things. Sometimes it might be a little bit more difficult, but I think the idea is we shouldn't be letting items that were a part of my childhood be something that we lose. And I think if you can make them into a stylish piece of home decor, then you've certainly achieved something. If any of you have tried this before, let me know, show me pictures of what you've done. I know some of my guys on there that are following me have done similar sorts of things. I've been learning from them tricks and tips. But I think the idea is to try and keep the soul of that piece and not alter it in any way if you can. Just try and integrate the electrics in a way that you feel happy with. Those of you that were early visiting today would have seen my latest creation, a little bit of a step away from what I normally do, in that I was in the garden, in the bushes, and I found an old metal fish that used to hold a candle. And I turned it into Billy Blowfish, as we call him. Just thought it would be silly to throw. I was going to throw him away, and then my lamp head said, no, this is a lamp in the making. So trying to mimic the shape of the fish with the shape of the bulb, and this time you put a push switch there. Oops, helps if it's plugged in, doesn't it?
Minor detail.
Minor detail. I'm going to get trapped behind my own lamping cable if I don't watch it. There we go. So there he is, Billy Blowfish. Not quite finished yet. I'm going to put some moss around here to mimic the seabed, and but I think sometimes you can find things around the garden.
He's suitably mad.
Suitably mad. He is suitably mad. I mean, but someone's going to want something suitably mad in their house. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So if you know anybody that's into fish and would like Billy Blowfish, then we will. Certainly be able to get him to you. You might have noticed the bike in the background here, just giving him a bit of a polish. The thing with the steampunk stuff, you have to polish them probably once a month, give him a bit of a polish up. But that's my sort of biggest creation to date, yes, which is the Easy Rider motorbike. But
he's always very popular when we take him to a show.
Very, very popular. I know this isn't a steampunk pipe lamp afternoon, but I'll show you the light on there. So. Quite a dramatic piece, that. Mad to think that I could build a bike, but I did in the end. And there we are. So that's the Easy Rider motorbike. But today was all about finding things. And if you've got anything you found in your garage, in your loft, in your basement, and you think, could that be turned into a lamp, and you want some advice on how to do it, then by all means get in touch, give me a shout, and send me some pictures, and I can give you some advice. If you're in the UK, I could even do it for you if you wanted. So, any questions before we leave, before we say goodbye? We've done our 20 minutes almost.
We have. Haven't got any come up at the moment.
People are either asleep or they're so wowed by it all.
Or perhaps they're just listening.
No, well, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. It's so good of you to give up your time to join us on here. Next weekend, it'll be Steph, my able-bodied cameraman here, or camera woman, should we say. She'll be doing her little piece. We'll be looking at some of her latest creations, which are the needle-felted sculptures, the needle... Well, you call them fibre art sculptures, don't you? The fibre art sculptures. I'm not sure what we'll be seeing yet, because there's always something in the offing, something almost
I don't
finished.
even know what you're going to be seeing.
No. But, so thanks for joining us this afternoon. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you here in a couple of weeks' time.
3, 2, 1, 0.
1, 2, 3, 4.